Our people, the Anglos, have a saying that a delicious food is prepared in a very, very important pot. The matter for which we have gathered here this morning is very, very important to my heart and to the nation as a whole, because it touches on the peace, tranquility, and development of Anglo land and by extension Ghana. I believe that you have all been following the brouhaha following the attempted coronation of a chief to be known and called Togbi Sri III of Anlo. Some years back, if you will recall, the Anglo state was thrown into a state of utter confusion, panic, and what I would call total havoc. For one reason relating to the succession of the departed chief of the Anglos, that was Togbi Sri. But thank God, peace and tranquility prevailed after the turmoil. That was sometime in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. And today, in 2022, some citizens of Anglo land are making another attempt to send us back to those days where there was total havoc in Anglo land. Now, to give you a briefing, the chieftaincy in Anglo land is a very straightforward matter. The head of Anglo land is called either Togbi Sri or Togbi Sri, because the kingship rotates between two clans known as the Ajovials or the Batao. The present ruler, Togbi Sri, is an Ajovia, and I, Chris Ackumey, speaking to you this morning, is a royal Ajovia coming from the Ajovia clan, and to that extent, a kingmaker of the Ajovias too. The issue of Togbi Sri, how does it arise? We need to go back into history. When the Anglos were sojourning in Gonche, which is in present Republic of Togo, they were called at that time Dogbo, because all levies at Gonche were known as Dogbo, and they were ruled by one chief, Agokoli, at that time. Until such a time that due to one reason or the other, they decided to migrate because they could not stand to the wickedness, the atrocities of Togbi Agokoli. So the Dogbo moved in two batches. The first batch was led by Togbi Vanya, who was at that time very old and very fragile. And the second group was led by Togbi Sri the first and his nephew, Togbi, who became the first Togbi Adelanja or the second chief of the Anglos. So eventually, to cut a long story short, the two parties arrived in the then Gold Coast. The first meeting they had, they called it an assessment meeting, was at Anglo. It was then that they realized that the stool, which was then occupied by Togbi Sri the first at Ngoche, had been left behind. So an attempt or emissaries were being looked for to go for the stool. And Togbi Sri decided that he was not going to go because of his safety. So two others were sent to go and fetch the stool. On their return with the stool, there was a re-coronation of Togbi Sri on the stool. And because the person who went for the stool was accompanied by his nephew Adelanja, it was agreed that for that act of bravery or the sacrifice to go for the stool, the rulership must rotate between the paternal side of Togbi Sri and the maternal side. That is why there's rotation from that time up till today. Togbi Vanya, who led the first group, was never a chief at either Ngoche or when they returned to the Gold Coast. But to be very honest with you, he was a very prominent opinion leader of the Anglos, and his voice was a voice that everybody or all persons listened to. And he died without being a chief or occupying any stool. So it came as a surprise to a lot of us when we had notice or news that there was an installation of one lawyer by name Ephraim Vorogu and another woman as Mamaga and Togbiga Vanya III of Anglo State. The fact of the matter is that if there is going to be an installation of Togbi Vanya III, obviously there must be a first or a second. And if there is going to be an installation of a Mamaga Abuibuepo, there must be a first to warrant a second. those of us who are very, very ardent with the Anlo chieftaincy history are aware of the fact that there have never been one, either a Togbi Banya or Mamaga Buekbo. So we thought it was a joke, and that, well, I mean, it was not any serious intention until a month ago when we saw giant posters all over stating or depicting a coronation event slated for 13th of August 2022. This was what actually got the people of Anlo and the chiefs worried, and then, you know, questions have started being asked this way or that. You see, this attempt to do the installation is a revisionist attempt, because the same attempt was made some years back, but which was nipped in the bud. And I have a copy of a report here, which Jabano report, which investigated some disturbances in the chieftaincy domain of Anlo land. I think that was in 1957. You'll be given copies. And clearly, that report attests to the fact that there has never been a Togbi Banya, because there was a man who purported to call himself Togbi Banya II, who went to give evidence. By the end of the day, the committee stated that all searches in the registry of Anlo traditional area does not reveal the existence of that stool name. So that was 1957. And a similar attempt is now being made in 2022 on a more grand style. There is one thing that I have learned as a student of history and literature, and especially what I've picked up from one of the best writers, literary writers of our time, William Shakespeare. He says that it's better to kill the egg of a snake than to allow it to hatch and turn into a serpent, which eventually becomes more difficult to handle. If you all remember General Kweno, then known as, also known as Buffalo Soldier, during the Liberian crisis, he talked about conflagration, and I don't think that we want to wait till there's problem in Anlo land again, there's conflagration before, you know, we act. It is for that reason, that's why some of us elderly statesmen, I am 72, so at least I qualify to call myself an elder statesman, think it fit to call this conference, to have this press interaction with you, to enable you, builders of the nation, communicators in the nation, professionals whose duty, among others, it is to stop wrongdoing in any area of this our dear country. Ghana is governed by a constitution, and we have the 1992 constitution, which has been our Bible since 1992. And we also have the Chieftaincy Act, which regulates or guides chieftaincy matters in all parts of this country. Fortunately, the Anlo Traditional Council met with the members of the Laofe clan, Laofe, and their leader, Togbi the Eighth, the paramount chief of Kliko traditional area, who is in the forefront of the attempt to throw Anglo land into turmoil because of their unreasonable attempt to install a Togbi Vanya for Anglo land, and which installation obviously will create some parallel, rivalry between Togbi Sri and Togbi Vanya, and eventually create disturbances in Anglo land. They had a meeting yesterday, and at the end of the meeting, it was made known to them that one, there has never been any stool called Vanya stool, and therefore there cannot be one. It was also made known to them that there was no chief ever known and called, or there were no chiefs ever known and called Togbi Vanya the first and second, and therefore there should not be any attempt to create one. They were also told that there was never any Mabaga Buikpo the first, and to that extent there could not be another one or a second. Additionally, they were told that they have conducted research in the registry of the Anglo Traditional Council, and they have never found any stool in the name of Vanya or any chief in the name of Vanya, and therefore they should not make any attempt to force one on the people of Anglo. They also made it known to them that the park at Anlo, which is called Hogbe Park, where they intended to do the coronation, is reserved only for coronation of paramount chiefs of Anlo, either Togbi Sri or Adelanja, and that no event of that nature should happen at Hogbe Park. Earlier on, there was an undated letter which purported to have emanated from Togbi Sri's office, which later called citizens of Anlo to resist the imposition of a Togbi Vanya on them. As I sit here, I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that those who are pushing for this revisionist agenda are bent on unleashing hell on Anlo land, and not until the security apparatus come in, we must be ready for another trouble. We had one in the north, the Yana problem in the north, which took a very long time to get sorted out. And I don't think, or I don't want to believe that we want to sit down idle for this country to be thrown into another turmoil at this time when our economy is suffering greatly. Obviously, the first-hand information I had when the declaration was communicated to them was that they did not take it in good faith. And their leader, Togbi Sri VIII, a very celebrated chief, very, very celebrated and educated, was led them in a walkout at the meeting. And judging from what information is available to me, they're hell-bent on carrying on the event. And I know they will definitely be resisted. They will definitely be resisted. Because, you see, the Anglos are very, very peaceful people. They look docile. But then, you know, they are just like snakes. When you step on them, that is when you see what is in an Anglo man. There was an attempt in 2007 to force a chief on the Anglo people, and we all saw the results. And I know the same will happen on the 13th of August if they push ahead. That one I can assure you. I believe in the justice system. I believe in the law courts. Obviously, we'll make an attempt to seek an injunction. Okay. But then there's no way going to court to seek an injunction will stop people who get mad, aggrieved, and agitated. There's nothing one can do to stop them. So, the law court is there, but I think the best thing should be a step in of the security apparatus. They claim that they are only doing the installation so that whoever is installed becomes an advisor to the present chief of the Anglos. Okay. And that it's just that they want to do honor to Togbi Sri, who led one of the branches of the Anglo people to Anglo land. That's why they were going on this tangent. But throughout the history of the chieftaincy of Anglo, there has never been any advisor or what they were calling Magbada for Togbi Sri. After all, if you want to give me an advisor, I want to seek my consent first. Do I have to go and create one and bring it? They have an agenda. The agenda is simply to create some parallel, kingdom in Anglo land, apart from the kingdom that we know, so that at the end of the day, as I speak to you, even among them, they have another faction. And then another, after that faction, they did the coronation on Saturday at Togbi. So you can see that, I mean, we will be going through hell, whether you like it or not. DISEC is in the know. The meeting, there was an earlier meeting on Friday, which DISEC attended with some of the chiefs. And because that was not a traditional council meeting, which has the power to handle the chieftaincy matters in the district, there was no conclusion. So yesterday, the traditional council, which has got the power to adjudicate over, met and took a decision. And this decision is no coronation, and which will be communicated to DISEC. So I believe that DISEC, which is in charge of security matters in the district, will take the matter up and communicate to regional to national. And you see, if nothing is done by national, by district, by regional, it will fuel the perception. It will fuel the perception that there are some unseen hands behind it, unseen powerful hands, let me put it, unseen powerful hands behind this to create confusion in Anlo. For whatever reason, I wouldn't know, because I mean, it's a program on agenda which will not succeed. I'm telling you as an Anglo man, and not only as an Anglo man, as an Anglo warrior. I am a direct descendant of Togbi Sri the Sixth. And I know my great-grandfather showed valor and courage at the battlefield. Dutor means overlord, owner of the kingdom. That's what Dutor means. I mean, how can you claim a title when we have chief of the Anglos? So obviously, there will be confusion galore. Like I've stated, the Anglos are peaceful people. They look docile, but step on them and you see it. They fought glorious wars. I use the word glorious. The Togbi War and the rest. You go back to your history and you know what it is. And the Anglos have been the only people who have never been conquered by any force in the Gold Coast. And now, the history is there. Anglos have never been conquered. We are warlike, but very, very peaceful.
For more news, visit graphic.com.gh or log on to Facebook at Daily Graphic and on YouTube at GraphicGH.
Subscribe now.